October 2021. We are here today with Madeleine, who is a breast cancer survivor and who has been treated with us here at Premier Surgical Group in Merced. Madeleine is a resident of Merced. Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to answer a few questions.
Of course.
Okay. And then, so the first question is, can you describe some of the feelings or thoughts you had when you were first told you had breast cancer?
Wow, yeah. For me, it was really shocking, just because I am young. I just turned 31, but I was 30 at the time, and I had been told by at least 2 other doctors that the lump I had found was definitely not cancer. And so I had to really fight. They didn't seem to know what it was, and so I had to really fight to get here to get someone who would biopsy it. And I'm, again, so grateful that I did that. So there was like a lot of, you know, vindication, but also like anger at the people who didn't listen to me. And then just a lot of, you know, fear, because it, for me, it had, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna get into this, but I have a particularly rare form of breast cancer. And so, you know, learning that, and then just, you know, not really knowing what was going to happen next, and those moved really quickly because of how rare and aggressive it was. And so I think there was 4 days from diagnosis to having the mastectomy. And looking back now, I feel so good that we did that, and it was the right choice. But it was really, really scary, like very, very scary.
Yeah, definitely understandable. What was like most difficult, I guess, in the journey?
I mean, that changes. It kind of depends on like what step you're on, and I've had to, you know, everyone, you know, there's when you look at it, you know, there's surgery, there's chemo, there's radiation, there's, you know, any scan you have to get, any appointment, all of those things are, I think, kind of equally difficult when you're in it. Like when you're faced with it, like the next step feels like the hardest step, but the next step is like the most important step, and I have to keep thinking about it in that term. Losing my hair was really hard, but I've been like playing with like scarves and hats, and that like felt like the worst bit, just because that's when you feel like you look like you have cancer and you can't really hide it. But I don't know, I sent a picture I had like a little, a lot of my friends are, you know, I've moved around a lot, so they live all over the country, and so we have a little support, like, online group for all of us, and I posted a picture of me with a scarf on, and someone said that I had like rich aunt vibes, and that like really made me laugh, or like we get to joke that I'm, you know, a celebrity incognito or something like that. So yeah, there've been different difficult parts or hardest parts, but you know, I have to find a way to flip it and like make it not so hard.
And then just, who have you like leaned on the most for support? I know you mentioned like friends and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, my partner Sam, who I live with, and you know, who's just been loving and doting and amazing, and you know, he's taken on so much because of this. But you know, my family has been incredibly supportive as well. I have a large chosen family, you know, that, you know, close friends that are no longer friends, they are family, and like they've been just, you know, incredible.
Yeah. And do you feel like there was impacts, in particular for diagnosis, on just like personal relationships, life?
Yes, and I mean, yeah, it, you know, when you get this kind of a diagnosis, and I think especially, like I said, learning that I have like this really rare, really aggressive cancer that's, you know, very scary, it really makes you reevaluate you're just like where you're going, what your choices are, and how you deal with things. So I think I've gotten a lot better at, you know, setting boundaries with, you know, people who I need boundaries with, or just advocating for, this is what I need, and this is I'm not taking any other answer or option. Like, this is just what I need right now, and I'm allowed to have those needs. And that's something I think I used to be very much a people pleaser, and I'm sure I still am to an extent. But I'm taking more prioritizing myself and my needs more than I used to.
That's good. And then just what life changes have you made as a survivor? You know, it's probably really drastic.
Yeah. That's an interesting question, because, you know, there's so much does change. I had to kind of, I was supposed to be starting a doctorate program for physical therapy this year. I was supposed to be moving to LA and, just following that dream that I've been working on for a while, and I've had to just hit pause. It's not gone, it's not done, but I've had to hit pause and just kind of reorganize. I'm still working, but we've had to change my role at work so that I'm not really front facing or talking to groups of people anymore. I'm more just by myself in the office, just to keep my health safe. We were always very cautious with COVID, but we've had to get extra cautious because now there's a lot more of a consequence if something goes wrong. So yeah, you just have to be more alert and more,
Just going on to the next question that you brought up, do you think COVID had a significant effect on your experience? Because I think you were during.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was diagnosed, it's October, I was diagnosed in July, so it hasn't been that long. And luckily I was vaccinated before any of this happened, so I didn't have to worry about, that not having a strong enough response. But even things I'm going through chemo right now, and you used to be able to bring a friend with you, to sit with you during your infusions, and that would be so helpful, but that's no longer allowed. That's not an option. And we also have a lot of people who are they just want to come out and visit and see us and help, because again, a lot of our friends and family live out of state, and we've had to be really you have to really plan ahead and be extra choosy and just make choices that you don't want to have to keep people at an arm's length, but you kind of have to. So we've been very just more cautious about all of that. Then we were all vaccinated and kind of ready to get back to normal life, and then this happened, and so you can't do it yet. We have to wait longer.
And then just what kind of activities have you participated that helped you during your journey?
So this is, recently so before I was diagnosed, I had gotten really, for the first time, into this really nice yoga routine, and I felt super strong and super, I was just getting really a lot better, and I had been a professional dancer prior to all of this, so I'm no longer able to do that, but for the first time, honestly, this last week, I finally kind of got back into my yoga routine, and even though I'm going through chemo, and even though I can't always do it every single day, just kind of forcing myself to just do a little tiny bit has been huge. So that it still makes me feel like I'm moving, I might not be able to go take a ballet class or a modern class right now, but I can do some things on my own, and just because I'm going through this, it doesn't mean that I can't keep doing it and I can't keep pushing. So it felt really good to get back into that routine, even though I can't go take a class somewhere. I can still do it on my own, and that did really big things for my mental health.
That's good. Thank you for sharing. And then I just have one last question, and then it's just what advice do you have for others dealing with breast cancer and or with other women about breast cancer screening?
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, screening, check yourself, and if you have to trust yourself. If you think there's something wrong, fight until you feel like you've been given the correct answers. In my experience, my tumor did not present like a typical tumor does. So everyone was like, oh, it's nothing. Oh, we don't know what it is, but it's not cancer. And I'm like, well, if you don't know what it is, and so I had to really fight until I got here to Premier Surgical Group, and Dr. Stewart was the first one who was like, no, we're biopsying this immediately. And so, fight for yourself. And then as you continue to go through your appointments and your treatments, make sure that you know what's happening, and make sure that you feel comfortable with the conclusions that your doctors are coming to. Ask them why they're recommending something. You need to trust your doctors, but you also need to know what you can and can't handle and what you want for your own health. It is still your choice, and you're not out of control. You're still in control. So it feels like you have, nothing is, your choice anymore. It still is. So just advocate for yourself. Speak up. If you're uncomfortable, say something.
That's all I have for you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience.